Good evening, everyone. A few announcements before we begin. Dear members of the audience, a firm request to please put your cell phones on silent mode. A request to mute their mics and put your videos off while the webinar is on. I repeat, a request to mute the mics and put your videos off while the webinar is on. Any questions can be put in the chat box and our team will put it forward. Thank you for your cooperation. We hope each and everyone will enjoy today's webinar. Last but not the least, our tech team will be on their toes to see there are no technical glitches. But if it happens, please do bear with us for those few minutes till we resume back. Thank you once again. I repeat, everyone, please put their mics on mute and put their videos off while the webinar is on. Good evening, dear parents, friends, all my colleagues, esteemed guests, and our panelists for the day. It indeed is a pleasure to see so many of you logged in today. As it is rightly said, autism is not a disability, it's a different ability. On behalf of Sundarji's Global Academia, I, Nikita Gandhi, facilitator at the Early Intervention Center, welcome each and every one of you to this webinar, Autism, Embrace the Amazing. To give you a brief about our organization, it was 25 years ago when three Sundarji sisters, Jaina Bain, Malik Bain, and Zarina Bain, who were stalwarts in the field of education, started the Sundarji Nursery School. Our co-founder and director, Mrs. Masrat Tawawala, joined them on this journey. Together, under these four dynamic ladies, the organization has grown exponentially with the Sundarji Teachers Training Institute to develop good teachers. The Sundarji Early Intervention Center was started to help children with learning difficulties. The need was then felt for a special school for children who were not able to fit into the mainstream school. And that's how the Sundarji Institute of Special School came into being from grade K1 to grade 12. The far-sightedness of our founders inspired them to start an inclusive CBSE school, the Suyog Sundarji Wisdom School, a joint venture with Suyog Builders. As a part of our Silver Jubilee celebrations, Sundarji's Global Academia is hosting this webinar to build awareness about autism in this World Autism Awareness Month. What happens when the child reaches adolescence and moves towards adulthood? Are parents equipped to navigate through these crucial years? Are parents aware of the careers available? Do parents have answers to their fears about what will happen to their child after them? Let's hear it from our panelists. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our co-founder and director, Mrs. Masrat Tawawala, to welcome our panelists and commence the webinar, Autism, Embrace the Amazing.
Good evening, everybody. It's just my pleasure to have all four stalwarts with me. And let me start with a small quote by Hans Asperger. He said, autism is about having a pure heart and being very sensitive. It is about finding a way to survive in an overwhelming, confusing world. It is about developing differently in a different pace with a different leap. And that's what we all know about it. But today, to throw more light upon a lot of things which have not been discussed very often, I have got 4 people from autism walks of life. Let me first introduce our very own Dr. Sunil Godbole. He's from our very own city of Pune, and I'm sure you all know him, but for people who have joined him, Sir is a development pediatrician from the university in Germany, Bremen University. He has been the founder member and the chairperson of, he's been the founder member of Chiranjeev Child Diet and Development Center, along with his better half, Dr. Ashwini Godbole. He's the head of the Department of Small Step Morris Autism and Development Center at the D. Nanath Mangeshkar Hospital and Research Center. Many of you have seen the slides made for Dr. Godbole. He's written various articles, given so many workshops, parenting books, and the list is endless. And of course, the awards that he's got. But what is so special about him is the way he looks at that entire gambit of autistic children and the autism field. If you look at him, at the way he works at the Dina Nath and his clinic, I'm amazed to see the way his diagnosis turns up. For him, early intervention is the key for a lifelong autistic learner. And that's why, to throw more upon it and talk about adolescence, we have Dr. Godbole with us. Thank you, sir, for always being
Thank
with
you.
SGA and always being on our advisory panel and guiding us through. Thank you so much. Next in line, I have a very dear friend and a very old friend with me, Sunita Lele. I've learned so much from her. Let me tell you a little about her education qualification. She's a BA in English Literature from Nagpur, BHSC Child Development, and BA in Special Education from SNDT University. So many qualifications up her sleeve. And of course, not to forget the PGD, that is Postgraduate Diploma in Counseling. Besides that, she's done so many things. The most astonishing is being a founder member of SAD, a homeschool. And that's where her journey started. She had, because of her son, she founded this beautiful school, SAD. That's where she has, it's a household name in Pune, her school. And that's where she does, through SAD, she does a lot of research, training, doing workshops across India, and of course, pan-India and across the globe. She's also been faculty for various lectures, and she's published books on autism in Marathi and Hindi. She's also been a TEDx speaker, and of course, done remarkable work in the field of assisted living solutions also. Thank you, Sunita, for being a part of this wonderful webinar.
My pleasure entirely.
Next in line, I have Dr. Sushma Nagarkar. What do I say about Sushma? I have learned so much from her. Those little tips and hints when I used to visit Morris Foundation and her take on the matter, which I don't think she will ever write it in her resume when she sends it across. Her keenness and her little things and her particularness and putting her foot down that no, the assessments have to be this way. Her interest in data collection, it is not just the interest, but the way she collects data on the child before jumping the gun or coming to any conclusion. I think her entire team has profited it. This is off the record, Sushma, because I've seen you work. So let me go to what's in your resume. She's got a doctorate in special education from the University of Missouri, and she's a nationally certified school psychologist in US. She had been 15 years, she'd been in US, and just some years back, she's come back to India and set up in 2014 Yash Charitable Trust, the NGO. It is through Yash that is a dream come true that she started Cafe Arpan, which I visited Cafe Arpan in Santa Cruz, and I was quite amazed to see the way the children work out there. The most important thing is that Sushma has also been a registered rehabilitation psychologist and currently works as a technical consultant with Morris Foundation, Pune. Sushma has also worked with a lot of educational centers in Mumbai and in Bangalore. But what is important is that Sushma is a resource person for the Forum for Autism and travels far and wide to conduct training programs and workshops. And what brings the uniqueness to her work is her perspective of walking the walk and not just talking the talk. Sushma considers herself as a lifelong student of yoga, which is wonderful. And Sushma, very happy to have you as a friend, a consultant, and somebody whom we can bank on. That brings me to my fourth panelist, that is Beena Modak. Beena was introduced to me by Sunita Lele, and then when I looked into the qualifications and the work she does, she was an ideal choice for today's panel discussion. Holding a BA in English, diploma in special education from the Spastic Society of India, master's in social work, and diploma in education, training, and management of children with ASD. That's quite a bit to her credit. Her work experience is quite a bit. Worked as a special educator at the Center for Special Education, run again by the Spastic Society of India. Worked as a social worker at the Research Society, run by Jai Vakil School in Mumbai. She's been a visiting lecturer at the Minds College of Special Education, again run by the Jai Vakil Foundation. She's the founder trustee of Forum for Autism. Congratulations, Beena, for being the founder trustee. And she's also been counseling parents and families in freshly diagnosed cases of ASD. That's very nice. In 2007, she was awarded the Dr. Anita Avachar Sangharsha Samman Puraskar given by the Muktangan Foundation. Mother of a young 32-year-old adult with ASD, whose name is Satyajit. She's been working in Kshitij for the last 12 years. Thank you so much, Beena, for being with us today. So happy to have all of you. So my first question today, friends, we are going to cover things which are not covered in the field of autism. We usually talk about early intervention. We talk a lot about the challenging behaviors, the sensory problem. But today we are going to go a step further into talking about adolescent autism, adult autism, and of course, the most important, the careers in autism. I start with Sir. Sir, today what is plaguing us and what is worrying our parents is that as autistic children attain puberty, they tend to demonstrate unacceptable behavior in a social setup. Can you throw light on it, and can you enlighten our parents with what is a way forward from puberty to adolescence, those challenging behaviors that we see in children?
First, I thank Madam for calling me for this August gathering, and with such a great ladies around me, I am a bit uneasy about talking it. What I have to describe, start with my own adolescence. So any mother over here, any mother, whether it is a child of autism or whether it is a normal child or a typical child, adolescence is a turbulent part. It is a roller coaster ride. So adolescence comes with its own behaviors and challenging behaviors. So first thing we have to accept that. So I always say it's autism and adolescence is a cake with an ice cream. So that icing is adding with the autism part of it. So why it happens? The adolescence is a turbulence. Turbulence in what part? One of teacher has described it very well. That for a childhood, the nursery age, the same way for adulthood is adolescence. So the child is learning his ways to be interacting with the people around, and that is where these behaviors and challenging parts occur. Obviously, autism, its own core perspectives. What are the core perspectives? The repetitiveness, the stereotypical behaviors, the social withdrawals, and social communication problem. They are going to be the first challenging behaviors when it comes to adolescence. So they are going to be problem with it. So these children are going to be looked in by different way by the adolescent teens or the children around him. And what they enjoy, the first thing what the adolescent child enjoy is teasing others. So that is where the first challenging part starts with the parents and both the child. Another part, because these children, they are unable to communicate properly, they have got uncooperativeness in working with that, they have got their own restlessness, they have got their own irritabilities, they have got, and most importantly, the aggressions. So we may be discussing the tantrums and meltdowns at a later time and those sensory issues which are coming in picture. At the same time, what is happening about their puberty? What is happening about their sex hormones? they're normal. The puberty is going to come in, whether it is autism or not. And that is where again they're puzzled with the changes in the body, and they're having a very different response to these changes, and that adds to the challenging behaviors. So their behaviors, for example, a boy is may not be able to behave properly with a girl in the adolescent age, and because of the autism part of it, and it adds to the story in a different way. And lastly, because of all these things, what is happening? The child is also going to have about the whether this adolescent child does it, he or she wants to look smarter. They obviously want to look smarter. The brain is working. The brain is absolutely normal when it comes to intelligence in most of the children in autism. So they want to look smarter, they want to interact, and then there's a frustration, from frustration, depression, and the child goes into another negative cycle. So all these behaviors, they're challenging for the parents. And because the last part, what is happening is they're strong, they're healthy. So they try to react with their physical behaviors as well, and which is very much depressing and difficult for the mothers and the fathers to manage. I think it's a long answer for a short question, but I think we'll go ahead with the discussion again.
Masarat ma'am, you need to unmute yourself.
So that brings me to my next question, that when there are so many puberty changes, the physical, mental, emotional changes that occur in a child, and they are unable to express themselves, how do parents help them? Can you give us tips and hints for parents? I know it's a long question, but
Yeah. The first thing is we need to be really careful about the parents need to be aware of it. A very good answer for everything. It's an early intervention for adolescents now. For the parent, they need to be prepared with the adolescence, and this is again true for any adolescent child. So the child is going through these adolescent changes, the physical ways, the mentals, the emotionals, and this is going to trigger the behaviors of the core behaviors of autism in a very different way. So aware parent, a parent who is well connected with the child, very important. And what happens most of the times, by now there is a strong fight going on between the mother and the child, the father and the child, the mother and the father. So the whole atmosphere in the family is like boiling, and feeling that we are on the border of Bharat Pakistan. So that is what is going on in this happen. So first thing to remember is, let's cool down. I request all the parents over here, especially for those adolescent parents, try to maintain your stress level low. As cool as you are, you will be able to manage the child with autism much better. We always say, what is problem with children with autism? It is nothing else, words and all those. It is the communication which they are lacking. And who is the best person to understand these kids? Their own parents. So please try to understand your children. It will make the life simpler. Now, this is the preventive part. One part for the puberty management, I always call that as a remedial sex education. And that is to be started with these kids. That sex education comes from many things. We may discuss it over the time because I think there are questions into there. But that is one thing we
Yes.
need to parents to work upon on this remedial sex education, which will help them to teach their child to be on himself and to develop that gender identity required for an adolescent child. And most importantly, when the child lands up into the behaviors, then that is the thing we require a lot of patient management from the parents. I'll just give a concept of a escalation cycle over here. Any behavior starts with a trigger. What the psychologist, respectable yeah, people, guest over there, they will be telling about that ABC model, the antecedent part, the behavior, and the consequence. Forget about the details of it. What happens? Something goes wrong. There is a trigger in the environment. Some child teases him. The child wants to do something. Teacher makes the child to sit down. And these small triggers make the child get irritated, and he starts going on an escalation cycle. So it starts moving on that challenging behavior. Actually, this is the time if somebody picks up that child, this child is going to have, this child is triggered. And if you are able to manage the trigger at present moment, high chances that will be able to cut that behavior, and the child will not throw the tantrum or the meltdown. We'll be discussing again on those over the time, but behaviors and tantrums may not come at that time. So this is very important part to remember. Once you go ahead on from the trigger part, when the child is escalating, that is also the time. If you are able to pick up, for example, in a classroom, The child is going for irritability, and a very clever teacher picks up that irritability, and that is the time the child is asked to do something which the child likes. Even a child is allowed to move, the child is allowed to go outside the classroom and have same thing applies at home also. Goes for a cup of tea or just a glass full of water, the escalation cycle will start flattening, and the child may not land up in crisis. The third stage is the crisis part. At that crisis part, what is the role for the parents? Cool, thanda, ice cool. That is what is required for the parents, because the child is going to throw, and especially when it comes to the child is in a meltdowns, the child doesn't want to get disturbed. Even the touch from the mother is not allowed at that crisis point. In a crisis, the child is screaming, child is violent, child is destructive, self injuries, everything can go wrong. And what is still required for the mother over here, which is a very big challenge here, cool. And that coolness, keeping it calm is very important. And if that happens, the another part for that is the child will understand. This child is now adolescent. And I always tell any child with autism is not having a issue with intelligence. The child can think. And when the child is able to think, he will also start thinking over his own reactions, and he will start calming down. There has to be like a COVID wave. I assure you all people over here, we may be going through a very bad second wave, but it's a wave. It has to come down. And for a child with adolescence, the wave is going to come quickly. That a child with autism, the wave is going to come down quickly as it goes up quickly. So just give time for the child, and that is the time, the recovery time. But common motherly mistake, तूने ऐसा क्यों किया? हाँ, मुझे पूरा सबके सामने तंग करते हो, आपको कहीं लेने जाने की जरूरत नहीं. And the mother starts firing the child. And please, for the good mothers over here, the recovery time is the child is getting consoled, the child is getting settled. That is the time. Please be quiet, be assuring, just give him time. And then last comes is the complete recovery, and the child is settled. That is the time you can open up with the child and find out what the child went through. The child has gone through agony. Any behavior is not good for the child as well. A challenging behavior for the child is a problem. It's an irritation wave. So give time for that. So being calm, response at the right time, giving sensory ideas for example, fidgety ideas, removing from the scene, that is very important for these kids, giving something chewy to think. I always say that food is the best satiety measure or the tranquilizer for children. Give them something to eat and give them time to settle. That is the quick answer for a big problem. I think that's what I can tell at this particular moment, and I like to listen to others as well.
Yeah, fantastic, sir. We have taken 3 points from you: remedial sex education, escalation cycle, recovery, complete recovery, and as you said, food. Coming to Sunita Lele. Sunita, you've gone through this phase with your child and so many other children in your home school, the turbulent adolescent time. Tell me, what is your take on the matter, and how did you manage your personal experiences?
Oh, taking it ahead from what Dr. Godbole just said, I have two sons. The younger one has special needs, and the older one is the neurotypical one. So, the neurotypical one, when he was in his adolescence and when he had his differences with me or my husband, would storm out of the house, bang the door, meet his friends, crib about me, get quietened, and come back again home smiling. But the same didn't happen with the younger one. He couldn't stop his feet and go out of this house and meet his friends. So, what would he do then? He did what he could. He would take a phone and speak so loudly on the phone that the neighbors would ring the bell and ask, what is the problem? And was I troubling my son? Was I troubling Siddharth? So then that is how, the two sons were different. But as Dr. Godbole rightly said, we have to give them space to quieten down, and we have to give them engagement ideas to settle, or, have some recreation, some physical activity for the outlet, for their physical exercises. So this is how I manage my son Siddharth, by giving him a lot of opportunities to mingle with the people, to have exercise, to mix with his own peer group, and then our bonding increased or our relationship was stabilized.
Okay. Great take, Sunita.
Great take.
Sunita, that leads me to the next question is, how did you improve in SAD and of course for Siddharth, the communication, interactional skills in a group setting?
It started with one-on-one, I believe. That's how it should be, a tabletop activity. And it started right early. I didn't wait for problems to be created and then communication to start. So as a teacher and as a mother, I really believe that communication is the basic fundamental teaching which has to be done. And teaching the children to express their emotions, their ups and downs, and teaching communication right from the beginning is how I went about as a mother and as a teacher.
Any tips for our parents on the communication skills?
Talking is not communication. Communication is much, much deeper than being verbal. So using low-tech ideas for communication, as simple as a picture exchange board or a word exchange board, using technology. We have Indian Avaz or Jellos and stuff like that. So that's very important to start as early as possible. Actually, special education or a special educator is the last link in the chain, which should be the first one, where we teach children appropriate behavior and group setting skills. So communication system, more than speech therapy, I would recommend communication therapy to be of more importance for children with special needs, autism in particular, because they do feel emotions, they do want to express, but they don't know how to. So parents and teachers are always in the teaching mode and not in the receptive mode. So it's always
That's
like,
great.
how much do I teach them? How much do I cover in an hour? What do I do in an entire day? So from that, just going a bit back, looking within ourselves and seeing what we are allowing the children to be individuals and expressing, that's more important, I believe, Masrat.
Great. I love this teach mode and not receptive mode. I think that's a very good point to take home. So we've got our speakers giving us a lot of tips and hints. Coming straight to Sushma. Sushma, I'm going to ask you a lot of career questions today because you've set up Cafe Arpan and started the NGO Yash Charitable Trust. Now, how can a parent decide what is the best career path for their child? Can you throw some light on how did you go about it, or is there any, what are the options available? Your question has two parts. So how do they first go choosing the right career for themselves, for the child?
Masrat, first of all, I have to apologize. I have to sit in our center and it's open air, so there might be environmental sounds, but I can't do anything about it. I can't change that.
That's perfectly
so apologies
okay.
for
Sushma,
that.
That's perfectly.
But to answer your question, choice of career or exploration of what our kids want to do as adults doesn't start at adulthood. It starts around the time when the child is 8 or 10 and starts showing interest in certain areas or pre-vocational opportunities or experiences. And I think it's for all of us. And I don't consider parents independent of, say, the school or special educators or therapists who are part of that team, who are the support system for the child. And the child also is very much a part of that team. So everyone kind of keeps their eyes and ears open as to what, and particularly for students who don't communicate very well, what are those behaviors? And all behaviors, Dr. Gorbole said, is communicative. So we have to be aware of what are those things that our child is showing interest in, and then explore those further as and when opportunities in the natural environment present themselves. So for me, very early on, I mean, because I was working back then, Aarti, my daughter with autism now, who's an adult, she was sitting in front of the television very early on in her life. And I recognized at some point that when she heard Rag Bhairavi or Malkaunsa or one of those, she started crying. And she wasn't communicating very well at the time, but she certainly was communicating with the music. So I recognized that she was relating to music in this unusual for me way, which led me to then explore music as an avenue for her, and which is working really well for her. So the point I'm trying to make is these explorations have to start very early on. You know, we're always taking sort of our neurotypical children, if you will, particularly in the upper middle class, I guess. We're enrolling them for different activities and different classes and different uh, post-school sort of, hobbies or what have you. Similarly, we have to think about children who are neurodiverse and try and explore these avenues very early on. So when we started Yash Charitable Trust, we didn't know what we were doing. We just decided that we didn't want to be a sheltered workshop. We knew what we wanted to be. We just didn't know what it was that was important and that was real and that was out there that our adults who would join our team could do. And by chance, we came upon food as being that equalizer, and that's what we've stayed with for the most part. So that was just an accident, if you will, of circumstances. But it's working. It's working for our adults.
Sushma, we would like to know a little more about Cafe Arpan. Since how did you go about, recruiting, training? Because this is very important for the parents.
So Yash Charitable Trust has the vision of Yash Charitable Trust is that individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities live and work in the community of their choice with dignity and with self-respect. And so everything that we do as part of what we do is based in the community, and it's out there as in that's very real and very meaningful in a way. We started with a Dabba service. It proved to be enormously successful as a supported employment initiative. And as we were growing, as we got lots of mileage on WhatsApp, at times mileage that we couldn't cope with, we started to explore other avenues. And over that intervening period, we were training on the job, and we realized that our guys are really very capable of doing more than just working here. I mean, not that working in the Dabba service is by any means less than, it's a different skill set. And we were sent this video about a cafe in Manila that parents started for their kids. And our trustees decided, why not? Let's try it. And that's how the cafe idea generated. We've been very fortunate to get with us on board people who understand what we do, understand the support needs of the people we work with. And so the design of the cafe, the design of the menu, everything which is made by our team members was in such a way that there was success. I mean, it was designed for success. And therefore, we train on the job. Now we have a separate skill center where we train. But the whole idea is so that they can work in our cafe or in our second cafe at Accenture, or hopefully we collaborate, do something different and continue with food. And they can work there. But whoever
Great,
is
Sushma.
part of our team, I just want to say this really important point, is not because the parents want them there, because we refuse to take anyone because the parents want them there. It's because the individual wants to be there. So everything we do is centered, it's person-centered. The individual makes that choice. The individual has a responsibility. And we only want people who have a voice and a choice to be a part of it, not the parents.
Very important
Interesting.
point, Sushma. Very interesting about an individualistic approach towards this entire thing. Sushma, a humble request to put the link of your cafe or your Facebook page for all our parents to see out there in the chat box. It would be great if you have the YouTube channel, because I have seen it. Yeah, thank you so much. Coming to Meena. Meena, I'm going to ask you a different field altogether. I'm going to talk to you about assisted living solutions. It's catching up in India. It's many people are experimenting with assisted living solutions. We've got autism ashram. We've got 2 autism ashram in India by Dr. Anil Kundra, one in Gujarat and one in Hyderabad. We're looking at these options, and it's in a very immature stage at present. What is your take on the matter of assisted living solution?
Beena, you have to
You're
unmute
off.
yourself.
Beena, you're off.
Sorry. The importance of this question has been grossly underestimated by us parents, including me. And because we keep putting it off, we look at it later. Let's look at the schooling. Let's look at the careers, and after us, there's still time. But this has been starkly brought to us, in the pandemic also, when we've had cases of parents whose family has been affected by COVID, and both the parents have been affected, and we have had to make arrangements for the children to be looked after. Because this is just an example of what can be after us. So the parents do need to consider residential options, not when there is a family crisis, but we have to prepare for it much before, prepare for it right from childhood. That is planning early. Preparing the child is very important, and this can happen in small ways when the child is small, in like sending the child for overnight picnics with the school, or for sleepovers, or for camps. This prepares the child in small ways to live without the parents, to be without the parents, and for the parent also to let go and allow the child to function without them. So I feel teaching the child's help skills, teaching the child independent living skills is very important, and it has to start early.
Beena, I think Beena, we've lost Beena. Coming to you, Sunita, you have also been thinking about assisted living solutions, and you've got lots to throw light on that arena. Can you please tell us about the assisted living solutions at your end?
Yes, but a little bit more to add to what Sushma said, that thinking of a career or a vocation or a job starts very early. So, training any child, disability or no, a neurotypical one or a child with disabilities, it has to start very early. The same way assisted living, it's very individualistic, it's very family centric, it's very child centric. And if an individual can decide for himself or herself how to live and is independent enough to do that, then just assisting them, is an option. So there is no one particular way it has to be done. It can be very different. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I wanted to see how Siddharth would live after me, in front of me. So I started a little early. I had decided I would find a second home for him by the time he was 21. But by searching, I saw that it's not as easy as it sounds. So actually, when it happened, when I could find a second home for him, he was 26. So I would, as a parent, say this categorically, that it has to start very early and start with independence. A 6-year-old should start sleeping alone. Why not? And then emotional weaning of the parent to live without a child and be happy living without the child has to also come. So Masrat, it's not just a particular solution or B particular solution. It's a very, very dynamic way to think about it. Now, how did I plan for some other parents who are associated with me? I wanted a center where it will be supervised by other parents, or I wanted a center where it will be an institute where children, when they become adults, live independently, but it will be a extended joint family system, if I can say so. So parents of the children will live next door or nearby and supervise and be a part of the institution. I don't believe in sending away. It's not like a girl going to Sasural and not coming to Mecca ever again. It's not like that. So my setup is a little different. What we have done is, it's for a bigger community. It's not for restricted to the parents who have bought the land, but in our situation, what we have done is, a set of parents have collectively bought land and donated that land to an non-profit organization, and we have started construction. So it will be ready in an year, and it's we are going to accommodate more children also. It's not only for the parents who donated the land, but the parents are going to have their own houses and live next door. And it's going to be a senior citizens or a parent housing next to the institute. That's my model, which is coming up in Pune. We are around 45 kilometers from Pune, between Pune and Mahabaleshwar. And what we thought was, it has to be a replicable model. It can't be one of its kind. So I'm actually helping three more organizations around Pune to have similar kind of setups in Maharashtra. But it's not send your child away and not then be a part of it. Ours is a more cooperative model where the parents, when they become senior citizens, or can work from home, that's what Corona taught us, can be a part of the institute and still make their children independent. That's my model.
Wonderful.
Lovely. Wonderful, Sunita. Thanks for this heartwarming share with us, because so many parents are worried about this. I love, like, you're talking about a gated community coming together, and the child is again individually independent and still with the parent. And I think that's the best thing. And what struck me,
Basrat, I would like to add. I would like to add something here as a
Yeah, sure.
teacher, as a special needs teacher. When we talk of autism, we always say autism is not mental retardation. But let us not
Yes.
forget that there is a level or a degree of disability. So many of the children will need assisted living, many will need supervision, and all cannot live independently. Let's not forget that fact. There's one more aspect: transparency. So wherever we decide our children to be, there has to be a level of transparency with the organization. Now my son Siddharth is living in a setup where there is so much of transparency that I can go and stay whenever I want to. And whenever they need a parental support or help, we are a phone call away. During Corona, let me tell this on a public forum. During the first wave of Corona, many individuals in the institute had to be shifted to a medical facility. And it was a learning experience for me and my husband, where they didn't ask the children who were negative to go back to their families, but they decided to take it heads on, and they decided with parents like me to support them in the institute. So it was a huge learning experience. The easiest way is to shut down the institute and send the children away. But
Yes.
the place where my son stays, they took the hard way out, and they decided to deal with it, because that's really what it means to see a child in front of you when you are not there, how he will be taken care of. So this was a good learning experience for me, to see that how the institute takes responsibility of the individuals when the parents are around. So that's a learning and a great takeaway to me personally.
What a learning, Sunita, from you. Too many points our parents have to think about it. And, futuristic think about assisted living solutions. They're also worried and they're also scared. That brings me back to Beena. Bina, what is the degree of self-sufficiency an autistic child can attain when they reach from adolescence to adulthood?
Actually, most adults with autism have the potential to be contributing members of society, totally self-sufficient. But they can reach this potential only, if we actively train them through childhood. Like one of my favorite quotations is, uh, if you give a person a fish, he will eat for a day, and if you teach him to fish, he will eat for a lifetime. And it's just so true. I mean, we tend to find the easy way and keep like our softness or whatever, we keep caring for our children and doing things for them, but eventually teaching them to be self-sufficient in their self-care skills, in their activities of daily living, in household things, is so important. And our children, this pandemic has proved that our most of our adults, children and young adults, have been completely active and helping in household work. Because we were all at home, and it was a perfect training ground to teach home skills, etc. So and this pandemic has created the opportunity. So I definitely feel that we can make them self-sufficient, our autistic children, and you can only do it by insisting that they do things for themselves, helping them to learn these skills, and that is how they will become independent. So there is
That
a
brings
lot
me
that
back
we can do in
to
the house and outside, and be it shopping. Like now, malls like Big Bazaar are so very inclusive and
yes.
helpful. So teaching them to shop, going to a restaurant, teaching them to order. These are also, I mean, even in the outside social circle, there are quite a few traveling alone. All these are things where I am 100% sure that our adults can be trained and can become self-sufficient. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you for that. Coming back to Sir. So this is a question for you, Sir, especially in the research field today. There is a lot of ongoing research happening, stem cell. I hear so much about stem cell, identifying the genes, So what do you feel is a way forward for these kids when it comes to adolescents with autism, or even how is this research going to help us in dealing with autism?
Before going ahead, I'll just add a word to what these wonderful experienced people are telling us, that I always teach people the 3S of adolescent management when it comes to long-term management. There is a question about the schooling also. Along with school, let's divide the day in 3 parts. One part for the school, which the parents forget, they continue give the whole part of the day for the school. One for the self, and that self is for the self of the parent and self of the child, and one part for the skills, which may lead them for the careers and opportunities at the later part. So that is what the 3S I always tell parents, that is the way you can go ahead with this journey over the time. Now coming back to what you said about what is going to happen in the future, there is always, the human beings are so much driven with winning over. That's a spirit of human nature, that we win over, that we think of winning over COVID, we think of winning over autism as well. So there is one great important point to remember, that yes, there is going to be a point, there will be some solution, because we are yet not aware of what is exactly happening. But now at this stage, stem cell and autism, let's take it a pinch of salt. At least at present moment, stem cell therapy has no direct one-to-one success in children, in not only in India, but as well as to the abroad, especially this part. Why now? Let's give a very clear example for that. For example, the success story, a pancreatic problem where the insulin goes down, and you give the stem cells which will generate those insulin, and then the person gets corrected from the diabetes. That is where there's one point solution where you devote those stem cells to that insulin secretion and it works. But what about children with autism? What about their brain? The real problem with the brain with children with autism at present moment is the connectivity. And this networking within the brain, it is all over the brain. So are we going to inject a solution of stem cells and it's going to reach everywhere and get those connections together? Unfortunately, that is yet not completely achieved. I do from my bottom of the heart think that such solution should come and give a magic solution for all these things. presently, I will say, be very careful about that. And that is another way to look at autism, because when there is no solution, there are lacks of solutions which come up in the market. I use the word market on this platform. Sorry to say these words, but that is the way people are unfortunately driven to wrong ideas and wrong practices, and ultimately forget about getting connected with their child. So be very careful about this, that there is something camel milk, there is something. So these are some therapies which are not proven by research. So let's be very careful about them. The only thing which is proven by research is be connected with the child, whether it is from the speech angle, whether it's from the parenting angle, whether it is a naturalistic way, whether it is a behavioral way. And that is what actually what Sunita madam is showing, that the best way to manage a child with autism is a connection with the parent and the child. This getting together is very important. And all this modern, there one more thing which is coming up is some medicinal support to get things together. So there are medicines coming up, yet no one medicine has proved that it is going to change the core complaints of autism. The medicines are meant only and only for the behavioral issues of the children with autism, but not to solve the core solution of core problems with the autism. So let's be very careful with this research and the moderns which are coming up. So there are very small ideas which are coming up with the research. There is a pet therapy which makes the children, especially for adolescent children, having a pet with them is another way to reduce their behaviors. That is where this modern, some good ideas will work for these kids. There is the light therapy. So give adequate sunlight, like light in the daytime in adequate dose, and the child sleeps better. There is some management about the GI management. There is always say brain, the road to the brain grows from the stomach. So work on the stomach. So there is some role of probiotic again to reduce the hyperactivities and irritabilities. But is it a solution to autism? Unfortunately, not yet. I'm waiting for that. So
thank you for the clarity on stem cells and in between the tips and hints. Coming back to Sushma, we don't have so much of time. Sushma, do you think there are accommodations given by government in case of the vocation that the child has to choose, or some help from the government? How does our government help our children? Sushma, you are mute.
I said, are we recording this? I don't want to beat up anyone.
We can,
no,
yes.
I'm just.
We just need to be truthful. That's it.
You know, the problem is Beena. Masrat. I'm sorry. The problem is Masrat. I was thinking of something Beena said, so I called you Masrat. Beena. But perfect. The problem is that there's a lot more that the government can do specifically. There's just a lot of red tape, you know, as we've been running this NGO, and maybe Sunita has experiences such as ours as well. There's just a lot of hoops to run through. So we have chosen necessarily to stay out of the way of the government and just do our own thing, which we know is best practice. Nobody can question our philosophy and our way of doing things, because it is what's also been proven by research and otherwise. To work the best for adults on the spectrum, and that's what we choose to do. I do want to make another point though, Masrat. I know this is not a question you've asked me, but as parents, and I know the parents looking to life after me, what happens after me.
I was coming.
Sorry, you want to ask the question first, then I'll answer.
Yes. No, I wanted to ask this, but before that, that was my last closing question to you, because I didn't want to do it on that note. So I want to ask this question. Any best career options you feel like? I've been reading about it and researching, like they say chefs are the best careers for autism. There are few careers which are meant for autistic kids, the repetitive movement. Since you all are all parents and you've done so much of work, do you feel that there are any best career options today for them? Like any 5 best?
Let me throw the question back to you and everyone else who's listening out here. You are in your profession because you love your profession, right? You are in the profession because you are interested. I have been practicing as a psychologist for years and years because that's what I love to do. And likewise, we have to be very aware and cognizant that our people with autism are people first. They have interests, they have their own, what shall I say, things that mean value, bring value to their lives. And let's learn to respect that, and let's learn to identify those, because they all have something to tell us and we have things to learn from them. So let's not try and put a square peg in a round hole because we want it. Let's try and listen to what they're telling us by virtue of being a part of our lives. I do want to say this very important point about assisted living. Far too often, parents are asking, what after us? Is this institution good, or is that institution good, or is a third one good? Or should I go to Dehradun, or should I go to Delhi, or should I go XYZ? Please, for God's sakes and your child's sakes, please start the process early. If the trajectory for your child is going to be assisted living somewhere, start the separation. Sunita brought up a very valid point, just as early as sleeping separately. Start the process early. My own daughter tells me at this point in time, I don't know that this is the best solution for her, but she has a voice, she has a choice, and I listen, which is that, Mom, I want to live in our flat here even after you. She is very clear on what death means. She knows that I'm not going to be there, even though she's got, in all technical language or IQ, she's 50 to 55 IQ. But she's a person and she recognizes this. So for her, her trajectory is living in her flat. Now, please take that into consideration. I'm not saying that's the best solution. Absolutely not. It may not work. But please respect your persons with autism as persons first. I'm just going to say that very strongly because I know too many parents who are not doing that.
I think this discussion has taken us to the next level because I have a combination of parents and a doctor today. So when a parent speaks, it just speaks from the heart. And when you all are talking, I'm sure the parents out there are getting a lot of support. And that was my main aim today of SGA, to do this. Coming to all the closing remarks, because there are a lot of questions there. Beena, your closing remark today. What is what you want to tell the parents? They are sitting there with a lot of hope from all of you all. And of course, transparency and truth.
No, going by the journey, our journey in the last 30 years, I would say that definitely there is a lot of hope with what we started 30 years back when, like forum was started. And today we have moved a lot where services for early intervention, services for early diagnosis, all for schooling, for mainstream schooling, we have been able to make headways. And this is because we as parents came together and were a strong lobby group and got services. So I am definitely a strong advocate of parent support, of parents coming together, advocating for their children, creating services. And now we are in the, as you said, we are at the process where we are looking at careers, we are looking at assisted living solutions. So there also,
Yes,
I believe that transparency is important. My advice to parents would be, go for options where parents are equal partners. There are, don't go for places where they say parents are not allowed. Anything which says that, the red flags are up. So choose.
Perfect. Good take on the matter, Beena. Sunita, that brings me to you. You worked with some of the government and you've been on the government body. Tell me, will the government intervene at some day, some year, and help this community to move forward?
When we talk of disability, the first thing people think of is braille, a wheelchair, a hearing aid, or a white cane. So autism is a hidden disability. It's the last on the list of disabilities.
21.
When we talked of early intervention, with some of the government people, they were shocked when I said early intervention starts at 6 months. They said not before 6 years. So government doing something for us will be a long way to go. And if we keep on waiting, our kids will be senior citizens by then. As a parent, what I would say here, Masrat, is we have to look at career in a very broader and a redefined perspective. We can't think of career in a set boundary. If given a chance, my son would have loved to be on Lakshmi Road and in a sari shop maybe, because he had such innocence when he would call any person looking smart or sundar to a lady. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the shopkeeper would have had great sales with my son there working. Or my son loved mopping the house. He would do that for hours together. So any kind of job which keeps a person occupied meaningfully, and the
And
person,
happy.
as Sushma very rightly said, happy. So parents should not be looking at any kind of their son's career or vocation or a job in a very standard and a very sense predefined state. So we have to give that opportunity to our children to choose. So choice making and grooming, that's another aspect. Sushma, I hope you agree with me. But when we are talking of adolescence, when we are talking of adulthood, so what are the takeaways as a teacher I would give to most of the parents? That teaching them grooming, teaching them social skills, teaching them sharing, turn taking, waiting, recreation, engagement with time. These are the skills which should be taught. And going from school to therapy to school to, we should somewhere take a breather and spend time with the children. That will go a long way, because if we know our children in and out through adolescence into adulthood, we will be able to take decisions on their behalf more so. Thank you.
Beautiful. Sunita, really beautiful. Sir, coming to you, sir. Being a head of a Morris Foundation Center at Dinanath Mangeshkar. Sir, you've seen thousands of kids with autism right in front of you, going into childhood and going to adolescence. Where we as a society, sir, what we as a society are doing for it, and how many hospitals are willing to take up the cudgels for autism?
I think this is the first time, even though I'm working from a hospital, I will say let's de-link autism from hospital. Autism, it's a way to live with. And we have to really de-link autism from the hospital setup. There is no medical solution for that. And that is what I'll first and foremost say, even though I'm working from a hospital, and in my own small capacity within the hospital, it's an island from the hospital where the hospital doesn't come inside. The answer to this problem as a community is we have to shift the focus, and what Sunita madam has rightly said, that let's shift the focus from the hospital's desk, from the consulting room's consulting table, from the therapist room to the dining room of the child. If we are able to shift the focus to the dining room, the problems will solve a lot way. Another way to look at it, I give a prescription for the parents, and I'll have the prescription for all the parents. Please. The question is 20 laughters a day. It's not that easy. 20 laughters a day is not that easy. Start working on that. And why? I'm advocate to the child with autism. There are two advantages to that. One thing is, if you laugh with the child will learn faster. And the child will get connected with you. And the second thing is, if you laugh with the child, you will live longer. If you live longer, you don't have to worry about what will happen after me. I want every parent over here to see the picture of Amitabh Bachchan and Rishi Kapoor, 102 not out. Just imagine, the parents are 102 and the child is 70 years. What? Sab bude hai, kya farak nahi padta? So what about what after me? So that what after me will be solved when you are healthy. So that is my message on that part. 20 laughters a day, right, for that.
Great, sir. So we've heard great takeaways, great learnings, mothers speaking from the bottom of the heart, and also a lot of tips and hints. I would want to open this forum for question and answers. Clyde, can you please tell us, take to the chat box and tell us the questions?
Yes, ma'am. So there is a question. How should we encourage a verbal kid to communicate when they are in a tantrum or a meltdown?
I think first we need to clear what is tantrum and what is meltdown.
Meltdown,
Tantrum
yes.
is a behavioral response, while a meltdown is a sensory response. So you get overloaded with lots of stimulations, sounds and lights and activities, you get a meltdown. While when you have a behavioral issue, it's a tantrum. So when you have to manage this, let's clear these two things. And for that, a parent requires the first thing. You have to answer this, whether it's a tantrum or whether it is a meltdown. For tantrum, you require to be with the child. For meltdown, you require to be around the child. There's a difference between these two things. So you have to be really careful on that part. For a tantrum, and there was a question in the chat box also, how to manage a behavior. The answer goes in a mnemonic called as ruler. The child wants to know that you know that he is angry or he is disturbed. So that first R comes for recognizing the behavior. Oh, my dear child, you are angry. And if you show that from your body language, need not be talking about it. The first thing the child, oh, my mother knows that I am disturbed. And that is R. Second part is go on talking over it. Understand to understand. Okay, you are angry because you are hungry. You are angry because you want to talk about it, but you are unable to do. So understanding that, then you comes for that. And then the good part, that is where the cognitive behavioral therapy comes in. We label the emotion by a word or the group of words. So you are angry because you are hungry. That is a label to that anger or to that tantrum.
Yes.
And you have to be always cool and calm is a background activity. And then is the time, once you pass those 2-3 minutes to understand your child, now you are ready to to express your views on it. What the parents say, keep quiet, don't cry, don't shout. We are missing. We are trying to put a dhakkan on a bottle which is coming out like a fizzy bottle. So we are not supposed to put that block on the bottle. Let the anger come out. It will drive away quickly. That is the expression part of it. And then comes the later part, the R part. Remodel it at a later time. We cannot manage that at that time. That is the time, Jadoo Ki Jappi, as I was discussing, give them a hug, give them a sensory stimulation by which they will, or a sensory calming by which the child settles, and then treat it accordingly after later time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next question, Clyde.
There's another question. How to communicate with a high functioning child who's 15 years old with anxiety issues?
I think, Meena, would you like to take this question?
What was the question?
Clyde, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. The question is how to communicate with a high functioning child who's 15 years old and has anxiety issues.
One of the things that we have found useful is using social stories. They help to, they have visuals, it is in story form, and they do help the child to decrease his anxiety. Like we had one young man who used to get very with any kind of change, he used to get very upset and the anxiety used to increase. But we made a social story, and now and every time he used to go and read it, and now by himself, whenever he feels that he's getting agitated, he reads that story and he's calmer. So using the use of social stories is one way of decreasing anxiety.
Anybody wants to add to this? Any of the
Sunita,
other
may I add
languages?
something to it?
Yes, Sunita.
Yeah. Some calming techniques right from early age, which can be used later on. They have anxiety issues, but we think that we can deal with it. But the 15-year-old is expected to deal his own self-management. So self-management techniques, if they start early, and calming techniques are taught early when they are, in their childhood, it will go a long way, because our children have flexibility issues. So we cannot expect them to suddenly learn calming techniques. So incorporating them in their curriculum, because each child will learn differently, each child will have own calming techniques. So trial and error at adolescence would not start with early childhood for the calming techniques.
Thank you, Sunita. Clyde, next.
For some, yoga might help. For some,
yes,
music might
meditation,
help.
yoga,
Music,
even the
music
physical
certainly.
music, yes.
Music.
Any tips
I
as
think,
a parent?
sorry,
Yes.
Sorry, sorry.
I just wanted to add, have to use some level of behavior management as children are learning those calming techniques early on. So when they are able to calm themselves down in a way that makes sense to them, I think we as parents have to be very cognizant. Our culture doesn't allow us to reinforce enough. That's my view only. So just being very cognizant that they're using their self-management techniques, and we have to recognize and appreciate that, because that's a technique that's going to stand them for life. My own daughter uses music for that, to lower her anxiety, but she's learned it very early on that it helps her. And so just parents, please be cognizant of that, of what your child is doing to help manage themselves.
So the key to everything in autism is everything needs to start at very early stage in life. I think that's what we've been telling parents, whether it's the education, whether it's a sex education, remedial education, choice, independence, ADL skill, it cannot be at the threshold. It has to be at the ground level. I think that.
Masrat, one more point, if I may add. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I'm taking too long, but I think I should make this point.
Yes, sure, Sunita.
A verbal individual with autism is grossly it's a misunderstanding that they understand. So being verbal does not necessarily
Yes.
mean that the child
Absolutely.
comprehends everything.
Correct.
So at times, because they are verbal, we assume or presume they'll know a lot more. So as Sushma rightly pointed out, taking cognizance of the fact and then verbalizing it to them. And communication is again, which I always stress on. That's very important.
Yes. So communication is the key skill, and that knack of handling the children, especially for parents, that's going to be very important. Clyde, we shall take two more questions, because I think it will be very late.
Yes,
Clyde,
ma'am.
over to
So,
you.
yes, ma'am. So, lots of parents are asking this question. Children in their teens, like from 15 to above, going towards adulthood, how to communicate with them? They are unable to express themselves. They may cry. They may sit in one corner, so they are not able to express themselves in a verbal way. So, any tips, or how can we deal with that?
Sir has already told us, but yes, he can.
Shall I start with this, Masrat?
Yes, sure.
Shall I start with this?
Yes.
Yeah. A short bit on it, because I'm sure other panelists would like to share their views. When a child is going through a negative emotion, at times I have realized a child may be verbal but still may not be able to express, because it's a neurological disorder, may not able to label the emotion or label the feeling. So at times, even for a high functioning verbal child, showing pictures has helped for
Text,
communication, as simple as emojis. And conversation can be held through pictures, and not pressurizing them to express verbally. So taking away that pressure goes a long way.
Very good. Next question, Clyde. Don't ask the similar questions. Look for new questions that we've not covered.
So there is this one question where is, how can we develop the inner drive, that is the motivation in the child?
That's a good question. Sushma,
I-
you would want to answer? Sir.
I
yeah.
think when it comes to motivation, that is the another way to look at autism is theory of mind. There is one saying that the buddhi is there, but man is not working. So actually that is the key question when it comes to motivation. तो अगर मन काम करने लगा तो बहुत कुछ होने वाला है. So मन काम करेगा कब? When you're interested in it. So motivation comes out of interest. And in autism, what is the problem? Fixed interest. So they've got a very short range of interest. And if you go into that, the other solution for this motivation is look into it like a Alice in Wonderland. As a good parent, go into their world, find out their interests and get them back, and then they will start getting motivated. And for that, you need to observe the child carefully, find small interests where the child works upon. A child may be just enjoying something very silly, what we think silly, and from there the motivation can be picked up. So motivation goes by what the child really likes and what the child really continues, and that there is going to be a very short range. So we have to be talking to the child, and more than that, we have to be listening to the child and listening for the non-verbal cues as well. And then the motivation can be picked up.
I just have one more thing to add to what Dr. Godbole is saying, which is very important. And this is a true story of what's happening at our skill center. So we have new trainees, if you will, at the skill center who are persons with autism and significant needs, support needs. They come, it's not that the curriculum is so exciting and anything like that. It's just a curriculum that exists. But we've discovered that now during the pandemic, when we've had to close for these few days now, that this is causing a lot of difficulty in their homes, and their motivation to come to the center is governed by the fact that they now have friends, they have their own space, they're accepted, they're respected, and it's become part of this larger thing of I am important, I am valued. And it's automatically happened by virtue of what they do. So again, just recognizing that is, I think, key to increasing the motivation, because children will tell you if they like. I mean, our guys are very, they're not verbal, but their behaviors definitely indicate. If we have to stop somebody from coming for one day because they've had a meltdown or something like that, oh gosh, that's a terrible evening for the parents. But we have to do it sometimes. And so that is really critical to understand.
Thank you, Sushma, for adding that value to it. It makes so much
Hasrat,
sense.
Kavita Sharma has had said something beautiful. She says interest, integrated intervention, the 3 I's. So I just saw it in the chat box. It's by Kavita
I'm writing
Sharma.
it down.
Yeah.
I'll just write it down. When I make this document, I have lots to write down for all of us. I know we can go on and on and on, but definitely this entire year, I'm going to have you all back individually to do separate seminars, and I'm sure parents will profit by it. But today I can only say something, that this 2 words, thank you, will be very small to tell you anything about. Like, you've been you're all my friends, and sir has been with us, and so much of insight from a point of view and heart, speaking from the bottom of the heart, and just not for a webinar, is very different. And that's what you've all done. And I'm sure the parents today feel a lot more assured by a lot of your talks, your experiences, the way you brought it to the table, and each one of you had so much to say for it. I'll just end with these 2 quotes, that I would say that, autism can't define me. I define autism. I want to be free. I want to be me. I want to try to make people see me and accept the real me. And with this, I want to end this session. What I'll do is I will collect all these questions from the chat box. Clyde, please collect these questions. I will group them up. And as I said, that this is our 25th year. Sundarji's Global Academia is going to hold so many seminars, especially in the field of autism. These questions, parents, do not worry. Very soon, we will be getting these experts and many more. And these questions, we'll collect it and then take it at a later time. I don't know what to say at this end. Thank you once again. Such a lovely moment to have all 4 of you from Pune with us in our 25th year. Thanks, Sushma. Thanks, Beena. Thanks, Sunita. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Mashta.
madam.
Thank you.
It was our
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Sorry for overshooting the time a little. It's not little, it's quite a bit. I hope you all have enjoyed being on the panel.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was very interesting, and I heard Dr. Godbole after a very long time.
Very
Last
long
time I
time.
Same thing
heard
with
him
madam.
was at Dinanath
Yeah.
at
So
small
we are
steps.
again.
Yes.
Time
Thank
has
you.
come to meet again on a
Yes.
cup of tea. We'll meet again. Yeah.
And I want to tell you,
Thank
sir,
you,
that
sir.
when I was talking with Sunita and I was talking with Sushma, Sunita said, we don't want to do Upadka talk. We want to do some hard talk. Please ask those questions which are meaningful. I said, yes, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
So all of them wanted to say so many things. Sunita, I hope I've lived up to your expectation of doing some hard talk.
Yes, and Masrat, as usual, we meet only during Autism Awareness Month.
Autism. I don't think
let's do it more often. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for.
And we have to visit Sushma's cafe after the lockdown.
Yeah.
I want parents
Yes,
to visit it.
definitely.
Thanks, Beena. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
thank you.
Masrat, you and your entire team. And please thank the founders from our
Yes.
side. Thank you so
I
much.
think they will be very happy today to see their institution going to the next level. That is what they dream of. And even today, they are all above 85. But believe me, their commitment, their guidance, and their blessing has brought us so far. I can't thank them enough.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And their simplicity.
Very simple. They only think about kids and education and doing good to the society. So today, because of lockdown, usually we have our tech team at their place and we take them live, but we couldn't do it because of the lockdown and Corona. They were so worried what questions I was asking, what was it going to be, how it's going to be. It's commendable at their age. So I think this institute goes forward with them. There comes my Nikita to say a vote of thanks. I know she's waiting for it. Come, Nikita.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. People with autism need acceptance, understanding, tolerance, inclusion, satisfaction, and meaning as a part of their everyday life. On this note, I really thank all the panelists for enlightening us with their knowledge. I also thank them, and all our panelists have given us deep insight about careers available for autistic individuals, handling autism adolescents, and navigating an autistic individual. And they have also revealed some interesting facts through the experiences what they have shared. So I really thank on this to all our panelists, and thank you, Masrat ma'am, for moderating today's session and helping parents and the community to understand how to move ahead when you have an individual with autism in your life. I also take this opportunity to thank the team who has worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this webinar happen. Wishing everyone a happy and relaxed weekend. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I want to tell all